What's up, everybody? I'm Captain Yogi Chris, PhD, founder of Natural Yoga, director of Base One. I don't know if it's a Stoic temple anymore. I mean, that's always here. We practice Stoicism. You know, one of the guys in the movement, many of you know him, was telling me about, one of his religions, and his religion is Stoic, and it's based on Stoicism. That's how he studies Stoicism. And it's like, no, you got to study Stoic, just because. Like I was communing with nature today, and I noticed that insects fly and birds fly. Two totally different inventions that both fly. They both do the same thing, but they're totally different robots. Make them so different, and one isn't the other, although they're both flying, And obviously, if you look into it, they're not flying the same way at all. It's not the same physics, but the result is more or less the same. Although it's really, the bird flies faster, higher, the insect is whatever, like not even the same thing. And that's what I'm saying. Stoicism is not the same thing as just because it has some common quotes in your religion. Probably has some common quotes in my religion too. Well, let's just say my native religion. My religion, if you're in the Dragon's Lair and that kind of mentality is, your own. It's your own religion. It's the religion of. And I used to know, I had gone into like the etymology of the word religion, and it, I believe, it's funny because it's when you hear the definition that has that word in it, believe. But religion is just your belief system, essentially. Like if you look at what the word means now, it means something different now. And you could say, well, I go with the modern definition. Well, it's like, the modern definition will be the future definition. And there's probably somebody on the place of the earth that defines it a little differently. So whose definition are you really going with? Like, the root of that word is the belief system. And, so my religion is my belief system. That's my religion. It's my belief system. And every Muslim probably doesn't believe exactly the same. Just like every Christian doesn't believe exactly the same. Stoics will debate shit because they don't believe exactly the same. And your religion is your belief system. And maybe it's mostly this or that, and you can easily label it something this or that so that people understand what you're talking about. You can say, I'm a Christian, I'm a Stoic. Now, when it comes to IMC, what am I? Shape-shifting, Stoic, warrior, fighting, urban, pickup artist, monk. Of the highest alchemy order of ancient Egypt and Lumeria, or whatever. These are just words. Somebody asked me recently because they were like, she was like, what do you do? I don't know what to say. I don't know why. I just didn't know what to say. It's like, well, I'm the highest ranking guy in this movement, and I'm the founder, and this and that. And I do well for myself. And they're like, she's like, just pressing on, like, what is it? What looks like some core principles or something. And I still don't really know what to say. It's a movement of men and women that take ownership of their minds, their imagination, the consequences of their actions, their karma. And are committed to the spiritual path over the material path, but we use the material path as a demonstration of our mastery over the physical elements of reality and our liberation from the fruits of our labor and the labor also. And that's not written down as like a core precept. And that's probably what was my hesitation, because I was like, man, whatever I say, I'm going to change it in the future. This is not like set in stone that this is the core principles. But I did start going into like imagination and explaining imagination a little bit. It was something that I think it's just a fact. Like I've kind of put myself inside of a cocoon or an echo chamber of IMC. I don't know if echo chamber would be right, but definitely like my communication, first of all, like my whole day, my whole my life revolves around the need to be available to handle communications and do certain communications, to send them out, to receive and reply in certain ways. And I've made it my position in life. Like if you followed me through my day and took track of like, okay, for 7 minutes he did this, for 5 minutes he did that. And you had all 24 hours accounted for, it would be a lot of communicating with a lot of different people. It would be a lot of that. And maybe relative to 24 hours, maybe only 2 hours am I in communication with various people. But then when you look at other people and how much they're in communication, how many minutes were you texting back and forth with that person? How many hours were you actually conversing with the person you were hanging out with versus just being there with them, doing something different in their presence while they do something else in your presence? Like how much in communication you were. I think I'm in a lot of communication with my day. And these communications are so much people that believe very similarly to me. And this belief system is very outside of norm and not regular. It's not regular to shapeshift with your imagination, to imagine tigers around you, to imagine yourself a tiger, to imagine yourself an alien. Maybe another way to say it, like I would say that to the outside, but to the inside, I would say something like, release my self-image as a human. Instead of just imagine myself a tiger, just let go of imagining myself a human and see what I think of myself as. Because I've become habituated to this human shell, and people, and myself included, will become habituated to your regular communication lines. Just get nestled in there and stuck in there. And you'll get habituated to a self-image. What you envision for your future and what you see for yourself, how you see yourself, is perhaps the main limitation or the main advantage if you have a boundless imagination of yourself. Like I asked one of the brothers, how do you see yourself? Well, this or that. Well, no, I mean, like, what kind of guy are you? He was like, this or that. And I mean, like, no. Like, what kind of guy are you? And, well, I like music and I really like gaming, girls, like pickup. Cool. So that's literally his answer, high-level guy. And he says that. And it's like, okay, are you a pickup artist? I guess that's the kind of guy you are. You're a pickup artist? Or just like what kind of guy? I don't know. Chris, what kind of guy are you? Well, I'm a kind of militant, aggressive guy, but also a scholar and intelligent kind of philosopher, and a philosophy of male-female psychology, sex psychology, as they call it, and the scientist of the mind and nature. So I'm like a scientist. I'm a philosopher. I'm a scientist, and very imaginative and persuasive fellow. And these things are relative, because next to my teacher, I'm maybe not that imaginative. Different people have different kinds of imaginations, but instead of habituating myself to the regular ass communication of my PhD school or my family or the yoga clients that I used to always call, I've habituated myself to the IMC clients. It's something that's fascinating how I communicate with the IMC is I'm very interested in being slightly non-predictable. And I do this also I did, it's been a while since I've communicated much with the normie world. Like the maximum I communicate with the normie world is like take my car in to get the tires replaced, buy something with a shop clerk. And that's it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Go to the bank for something. I'll have to go to the bank this week sometime. So I'll interact. And then everybody else is IMC Nation or my girls. My girl will bring me all my groceries. Whatever I need. And that's within IMC because it's just like a reflection of me. So I'm throwing that out there, and and everybody brings their own normie stuff. Everybody, because where did you come from? Were you unplugged from birth and you've never been plugged in? Nah, you came as a normie, a regular fella. just a regular guy with maybe slightly above average or more than normal awareness, that you've just become habituated to your identity and you, and there's more greatness in you than the world, your world, the people around you, the people you interact with, your job, your school, your relationships, your family. They see you a certain way and they communicate to you as if you were going to be that. And magically, communication is that thing that brings about results. If you want to build a space shuttle, you're going to need to communicate the mathematics and the physics of it. You're going to need to communicate with all of the raw material manufacturers. You're going to need to communicate with all the computer scientists and all of the logisticians and all of the military officials and all of the astronauts. There's going to have to be communication, and the right kind of communication with the right people at the right time, blah, blah, blah. If you're going to become if you're going to write a play and start a play, then you're going to need to have the right communication with the script and the right communication with all the people that work at the theater and all the actors and rehearsing and auditioning and giving them instructions and cameramen. And it's just going to be a lot of communication to get it right. And there's a lot of places it could go wrong. And there's probably a lot of playwrights that fail. And there's a lot of engineers and scientists that don't make it to NASA, and a lot of astronauts that never get to fly in space. And what makes it get to, how do people achieve or manifest or whatever? Well, they say the right things at the right times to the right people, and they get the right cooperation. Well, how do you know? In the infinite of infinites, and I could say any words. How do I know the right combination of words? Well, you see it beforehand with your imagination. And, and then there's going to be a lot to that, because there's things that limit your imagination, your experiences, your sense of freedom, your fear of opinions of others, your own traumas or whatever. And it's sad to say that it's all that negative shit, but that's really the only thing that would narrow your imagination, that would make you less able to use your imagination, would be negative shit. So yeah, the things that are limiting your imagination is negative shit. But why? So she asks, why? Why that? I don't get it. And well, it's a lifestyle. It's very admirable. As you fall into it, it's more and more intriguing. It's one of those things that you can't look away once it catches your attention. And it's a very interesting thing, as I peer into these subjects and I see things like, where is your attention? That's a very fascinating subject. Where is your attention right now? Where was your attention an hour ago? Where is it going to be? In the process of taking a shower, where does your attention go? In the process of falling asleep, where does your attention go? In the process of meditating, in the process of hanging out with your girl, where does your attention go? And you're trying to create results? Really? What results are you going for with all that scattered, fragmented, attention deficit disorder attention? It's not really attention deficit disorder. It's just stressed out attention, just stressed. Too many open threads, not enough closures. Too many wants, not enough self-awareness. Too many options in life, not enough willpower. So where does attention go? And then there's this other thing called enthusiasm. What are you enthusiastic about? And go ahead and tell me about, I'm enthusiastic about gaming and picking up women, or I'm enthusiastic about music and web design. I'm enthusiastic about working out. And you don't sound enthusiastic. I sound more enthusiastic talking about nothing else. I just talk about anything. I'll be more enthusiastic than that, because my enthusiasm maybe has less to do with outside things most of the time. I mean, I'm not like I'm far on the path compared to people that like are just becoming aware of the path, and that seems to be, there's so many facets or particulars of this path that a lot of people in the world are somewhere on the path in some way. They're like at the edge of the path or something. They're not like on this path. Doing the private moments with Arash and doing the communing with nature, and I did the throwaway monologue once and I'll do it again. Just those processes have revealed so much to me about my programming, how I translate my experience into language, and the effect of that language, both on myself and on other people. And I've become more aware of tension and attention and aesthetics. That's another thing, aesthetics. What I like about aesthetics, one thing I like about aesthetics is that aesthetics to me includes logic when it's aesthetic. It's anything aesthetic. And there's something to me about aesthetic logic, like when someone makes sense in a way that feels good and it like gives you bliss of higher knowledge that elevates your perspective and has some effect on your emotional body or your senses. It's so cool. And that happens in the imagination. Someone says something and you see it in your mind. And that's right next to thinking you're seeing something in your mind that somebody didn't say. They talked to you and it went in and you saw it in your mind and you're looking at your mind and you're not hearing them, you're hearing your mind listening to them. You're hearing your mind listening to your ears, hearing them. You're in there listening to your mind and your mind is getting the sound from your ears and your ears are listening to them. But your ears aren't really listening to them, they're just listening. And your attention is on those sounds. Same with your seeing. You're looking at your mind, looking at your eyes, looking at the world. You're feeling your mind, feeling your body, feeling your environment. And so how clear are you on your mind? Because there's something that happens when you see the mind between the senses and the world, or between the senses between your mind and the world, and your mind between your senses and you. And these processes combined with the philosophy, because if I just did private moment communing with nature, even if I had all those instructions, but I didn't have the teachings, if I didn't have the AZD process, if I didn't have Stoicism and Michael Singer and TM, especially TM, Transcendental Meditation, then I don't know how much the development would be. It would probably be some. But all of these things combined are all developmental. Discipline to wake up at the same time every day develops you in a way. It develops you in a way that you won't develop if you don't do that. Doing TM twice a day develops you in a way that you won't develop if you don't do that. And now so is your life. I would never develop like you if I didn't live your life. And it's not that I would develop like you if I did live your life. I would just get closer to the results for sure. The results being whatever your life has gotten you. And so these are habits that make a man very imaginative, very entertaining, very enthusiastic. Because we own ourselves. And more, we own ourselves. More and more, I see myself as a soul traveler through the cosmos, an alien, inside of a human shell, talking to you all. And I don't know how beneficial this is. And I have my own selfish reasons. One reason why I would do this show is to get my voice out of my head, hear myself talk, hear myself think, really. And I know the thoughts are largely dope. I know that I talk with people and it goes too deep, too fast because I'm too eager to go deep because I need to say more deep shit. I'm not saying deep shit enough through my day. So I show up and do this podcast and I get it out. And another reason, because of my position. So my position is I've nestled myself in IMC Nation, so I'm communicating less and less with normies. And more I'm seeing the reflection of the normie world on IMC Nation people. They are also not normie, but they're closer to normie than me. Not just because I've been on the path longer, but because the nature of my day is communicating almost exclusively with IMC Nation people, whereas they communicate with one IMC Nation guy, maybe 2 or 3 or 4, and then the rest of their communications is with who? And day by day that goes by, my communication is more and more distant from normie world. And so I see tendencies that are reflected off of the people that I communicate with. And I know that I have that higher up too. There's some reflection here. And I know this process is a lot of distancing from that. And it's not for the purpose of creating separation or distancing. It's just a natural development of the pursuit of excellence. So imagination and being able to see oneself very differently and letting go of how you have done it before and doing it anew. Imagination, seeing what kind of guy you want to be, how you want to be known, how you want to be seen. Imagination, coming up with the resources to make it happen. Because your human life is passing and it falls through like sand through your fingers and you can't grab it again. And you might try to hold on to your life while you're walking down the beach, or you might just throw it because it's fun to do. And once you do it, you don't pick up another one, but at least you really enjoyed it. And I think, everybody has imagination. It's the power of the human. And they're confined to their daily habits. You're confined to your daily habits, your daily rituals, your daily calm lines. Interjecting more imagination in your day through willpower, in between comms, in between communications, during activities in your process, just all throughout your day, because you're slipping back into normal imagination and which is just your consciousness. You're living in your imagination. Your current life and how you see yourself is your imagination. It's just not very imaginative. You are like everybody, like that person went for a job interview and got their job and they imagined getting it. They imagined going there, they imagined what the interview would be like. They imagined all of it. But how imaginative, how creative were they? And how enthusiastic were they about it? How aesthetic would it have been to watch them in their process? If you were like a movie director and watching a mini documentary about that person that went through their job interview or went through that dating, that romance life. They went on that date. Okay, there's a great example. So you sit down with the girl and you're on a date, you're talking, and it's like you're watching someone else do it. And it's like, is it entertaining? Is it aesthetic? Is it beautiful? Is it gripping? Is it engaging? Do they sound into each other? So I think it's very important by valuing relationships like that. What's the principles of our movement? We value relationships first and foremost. Yeah, romantic relationships, business relationships, friendships, teacher-student relationships. There's something about communication that makes these relationships richer or not. Like I say to my dad, whatever I say to him, I say some heartwarming Father's Day text. And then when I got on the phone with him later, and it's like some just real brief, heartwarming exchange of things, I think I say something like, he compliments the text, and I say something like, well, it's just always how I felt. I've just not been good enough as a communicator to express it. Oh, heart explosions kind of thing happened. And that was imagination. I imagined that text, and you'll never imagine that text if you don't break free of some inhibitions. How are you going to do that? Well, we have a camp coming up. It's at imcbase1.com. It's on discount for 2 more days. There's a pickup camp also, and you might think you don't want pickup, but it is more affordable. And I tell you what, imaginatively, you'll hear and see different things about interacting with women and guys, just social dynamics. We're going to San Francisco, and I'll be going to San Francisco once a week for the next 3 weeks, and on the 4th week is the camp. Most likely, I'll go Saturday night all 3 times. I'm realizing that's probably the more right thing to do. But I might go on Friday night. I want to see the venues that we're going to go to. Because my imagination, if I just imagine it now, is going to be so out of touch with reality that it would be like imagining a marshmallow man right in front of me. And like, how useful is that? Is that like, it's. So I would want to know a little bit of the lay of the land. I would want to know a little bit about where the venues are. I might even want to know a little bit about the bouncers or the staff. I might want to know a little bit about the temperature, the climate there. Yeah, I could Google it, but there's something different. Or I could weather it or whatever. There's something different about being in San Francisco on that night during the time. It's not, I know San Francisco is just, with the wind and the humidity, is not as, it just doesn't, the Weather Channel app or whatever doesn't do it justice, what it really is. Maybe you've had that experience in places that you've been, and it changes rapidly, around this desert climate and on the coast right there on a peninsula. Like, it's just like, man, the temperature will change like this, and really feel what it's like, because sometimes the humidity changes how the temperature feels, changes how the air feels. The wind changes how the temperature feels. Is it windy in the part of the city? Like, those things, just get real familiar. So there's less distractions for my mind. There's a little bit more familiarity. It's not like seeking comfort. It's just seeking a practical amount of discomfort, like having the discomfort within a range that I'm operational in a way that I can then start expanding my communication line, expanding my senses, start creating effects sometime around there. If I'm there for 24 hours and I'm interacting and doing things for a lot of those hours, and I do that every weekend for 3 weeks in a row, and I stay within a tight city block radius where I know it's going to happen, where our event is going to take place, that'll do something. And I'll start imagining the results that I want. I'll start imagining the feeling of those results. And if you do these practices and you activate your imagination and you free yourself from the clock of normal society, of your bosses, of your teachers, of your family, and you get on your time because you own yourself and you stay on discipline, you stay on schedule, you stay imaginative or you create imaginatively during communications, during your activities, during your most mundane, boring shit. I don't give a shit. And I practice it too. So I get bored on something, got to get imaginative. That's just a complaint about something. It's a complaint about the present moment activity that the divine or the unified field is listening to my disgruntled or displeasure because it's too boring or whatever. It's not entertaining enough. Nah. In the pursuit of excellence on this path, one cannot be affected by those kinds of trivialities. One must be creative and generative to generate one's entertainment, generate one's enthusiasm. How? Well, there's things in me, there's knowledge, information, skills in me. So I could do yoga and get enthusiastic about it. I could do voice. I'm enthusiastic about voice because I study voice. Not like I don't have a voice book or voice training CD. I have looked at those things and done those things somewhat. But just from a perspective of my voice, my pause, my rhythm, my intonation, what emotion am I expressing? Yeah, my body language. Yeah, my face. Yeah, my eyes. Yeah, my smile. All these things come together and deliver a package. And that package is this invisible thing. And I'm just so fascinated by it because the world-class effects of sales and relationships and I mean, that's basically it. That's what makes the world go round. Like I could be a scientist and create the most incredible thing, but if I can't sell it to my audience, then it just goes unnoticed. The ability to do a great presentation creates such an effect. And it's amazing. There are things that can be communicated that have little tangible elements. Like if I imagine a great story and I don't write it down, I just tell it to you. And it changes you. It has all kinds of moral lessons in it and so entertaining. And you go through all these emotions and maybe some funny jokes in it. Like you get so much back, but where is it? Where's the story? It's in his imagination. And what if he engineered that story just as thoroughly as the guy that built the skyrocket? Just engineered something different. That guy engineered some metals and some fuels and whatever. And this person engineered some fantasy and some human psychology and whatever else. But with the laws of the mind, with the physics of language and words and all of these things. And that's what's so fascinating to me because I value relationships. And no matter how good I build a skyrocket, that's not going to improve any of my relationships, except other people that are hella interested in skyrockets. And even then, I would need to value my relationships with those people because if everybody's all for the skyrocket thing and doesn't have it, at their interest, their interactions with other people, they'll get lost in that thing and they'll end up being more and more alone. And now some people will excel so great that people will never stop following them because they're so great, even if they're like terrible at communication. But there will be an end to that string. There's a limitation to that. And the person in love with their own purpose and mission and wanting it to succeed at the highest levels will realize that he'll need other people to help him. And there will be people right around him that are interested, but maybe he's not getting enough out of them, or maybe he's not getting the right stuff out of them, needs better direction, needs to motivate them, needs to give them guidance. And that's going to be imagining how to get the message across so that they cooperate and in the way that I would need them to cooperate or that person would need them to cooperate. It's like a leader of a movement or an innovation or, of a philosophy or lifestyle as it is here. Imagination, man. So important. If you value relationships, get more imaginative about how to be in them because you're in a rut. You're in a divot. You're in a trench. You're in a groove. You're in a pattern. You're in a habituated way of being. And start to free yourself up when you own yourself and you own your schedule. You own your schedule and you apply this process that we do here. And of course, you come and get the higher teachings because they're all coming from imagination. The guy I said that built a skyrocket versus the guy I said built a story that was, the skyrocket maybe gave so much awe to everybody who saw it on the TV and then the rocket goes to space or whatever. They're like, we're going. Oh, I wonder, are there aliens or like, I wonder what Saturn is going to look like. And it starts activating everyone's imagination and awe and brings people together. And then somebody writes Harry Potter and millions and billions of people, their awe and admiration and it brings them together. And it's, that person engineered this person engineered that. And this process that we're on and the teachings come from a man that's in a lifestyle. I described my lifestyle. He's further along, much further along in this lifestyle, distance from normie, and in his imagination, the successful relationships that are the result of the right communication, and it's world class, top of the planet. And as you can see for yourself. And those teachings, the teachings come from his imagination. Maybe some things he read or heard and puts things together, but it's the innovations that come through the relationships. You can have these innovations too. If it rings true with you, it's because there's truth in it. You can stumble across the area of a square. You can stumble across the shape of a triangle too. You can stumble across the basic mathematics that 5 + 5 = 10. Just because someone else invented it first doesn't mean you couldn't independently invent truth also. Truth is truth. Truth could be forgotten and then reinvented later. The eyeball was evolved 3 times at least on this planet, and then mass extinction, all the eyeballs left, and then it re-evolved, re-emerged. The truth can keep coming out. And if you resonate with some truth, some new datum, some new analogy or some new piece of information, you're able to recognize it. It brings you that bliss, that elation, that elevated feeling. It puts things in perspective for you. Well, that's from one imagination to another imagination. And it's of a particular nature where the imagination is creating incredible effects, marvelous effects, the kind of effects that are healing, both men and women, the kinds of effects that bring men and women closer together than they've ever been physically, mentally, and physically. The kind of effects that bring about heart explosions in parents, that heal broken relationships, that give one boundaries so that they protect themselves from toxicity because they understand communication, how to imagine, and they get all the logic and physics of how the mind works so that they peer deeper into what's happening right before their eyes. They just weren't seeing it. They had ignorance. Shout out to Antonio Caballeros. I just tapped into my dialect. And we all have ignorance to certain levels. As we're waking up, for example, I was ignorant to my patterns of perception and translation of nature as I was doing communion with nature. I was ignorant to certain tension or boredom or boring movement that I had, and then I did my private moment. I was ignorant of some limiting beliefs when I start doing the throwaway monologue. I was ignorant of my rigidity in personality and communication with women until I get into communication with new women. You get into communication with that same woman that you've been with forever, and it's difficult to see imaginativeness in that. It's so confined. Go with the new woman and you see how you are confined. Keep going with new women and get their acceptance and get their admiration and get them wanting to hang out with you and be caught up in a now ever-changing cycle of dynamism, of imaginativeness and creative expression that is piggybacking on or being backboned or carried by the sexual psychology, genetic code. That there's this thing that's happening, whether people are ignorant of it or not. And almost everybody's ignorant of it. To more or less degree, everybody's ignorant of it. But most people are very ignorant of it, in denial of it. And their communication is in a groove like a robot. They're just programmed to be a certain way. And more every day goes by and they're doing their same activities, whatever their job and thing. They've become a robot for their activity, a robot for their job. Allowed or a slave to those habits. If they're allowed a little bit of freedom, they allow themselves a little bit of freedom. They might have an alter ego where they have more freedom. Integration of your life and an expansion of your freedom is the result of the science of communication and imagination. Go hand in hand, communication and imagination. First lesson I got from AZB when I came for my first one-on-one. Okay, so I have 3 or 4 minutes. There's some people on all the platforms. If you got any questions, then write it out or say so. Let's see. And it's up to you to pull yourself out. It's hard to see yourself. It's easier to see others. We all have blind spots. Yeah, you need ethics. You need to live with other men who are also ethical and on a process. And ethics is not arbitrary, people think. And yeah, discipline. So when you're around men that have discipline and ethics, then there will be a lot more reflecting back. You'll see yourself much more. But if you're lone wolfing it, or if you're around undisciplined people, it's going to be, you'll get lost in the murky waters of undisciplined communication and undisciplined behavior and just muddy emotions. Okay, so we got 2-3 minutes left. All right, it looks like on YouTube that I'm lecturing 2 people because it only shows the people that have the videos on. Oh, 3 people now, but it's more. Okay, so sign up for the camp. It's in 2 days is the discount, or it's now for 2 more days. The camp starts in 2 days. It's the first lecture for the camp. You don't want to miss it. This is a longer camp, so there'll be 5 weeks of training. That's more. That's a whole week more than the last one. So you're going to get like 6 extra lectures. And, in person, the price is reduced, actually. So this would be a good month to come in person. I don't know how it's going to work out. As soon as I let out the prices, it's like, maybe this is too low. But I'm not going to change it. So I'll see how it goes, because it's just the numbers got to go up. As long as numbers going up, then I'm doing good. And it's a fact. You don't want to miss out. So everybody here should be in attendance. Private moments, very important. How are you going to make the money to do this stuff? Because that's what needs to happen. The money to do this stuff. Well, I don't know. How serious are you about it? You might need to push yourself out of your situation. Things can change in a week if your life depended on it, if your mother's life depended on it, if your father's life depended on it. You're holding on, but the life is slipping through your fingers. Yeah, shed some tears, mourn, one for the homies, one for your old lifestyle, and now move on tomorrow morning. How do you do that? Well, I don't know. Fucking do the AZD process, journal about what you want, get imaginative, because you need to get a little more urgent about it. Like you were about to wrestle the world champion and you got to be on point. Like, here's your chance. You're about to step up and meet Megan Fox or whatever. You're about to meet Britney Spears, or I don't know. She's probably hideous now, but like, you're about to go for that $1 million deal. You're about to get that interview with the guy who wants you, but you got to be on point in communication. Hopefully you shaved. Hopefully you smell good. Hopefully you're showered. Hopefully you're well read that day. Hopefully you did your meditation. Hopefully this, hopefully that. Hopefully you woke up on time. Hopefully you're feeling really good. Hopefully you got your D sucked last night, or, you met a really pretty girl that morning and you're feeling great about yourself. And you're like in perfect balance and harmony with your masculinity and your confidence, and your self-image is as high as it could be, as far as it could be, as all encompassing. And hopefully this isn't the first day you felt that way, because day by day goes by in good feelings and you'll keep expanding, you keep growing. So just because you feel good right now keep it up. And how do you keep it up? You keep creating it. How do you keep creating it? Well, we have a process. And part of the process is keeping up with the philosophies of it, the organic development of it. You give your life to this and you will be rewarded in ways that are infinite if you know how to go into your imagination and pull out what's needed. So imcbase1.com is where you sign up, or the links are in the Telegram groups. And it was a pleasure to talk with you guys, and appreciate your time and attention. Like I was saying, I measure that, and I will hopefully see you on the camp. I know that for the pickup camp, I have a particular thing I'm going to show when it comes to posture that is going to make you walk like a god of Egypt. It's going to make you walk like a pharaoh. It's going to make you hold your chest, shoulders, and head, jaw, like a pharaoh. And I know that's going to be my principal body language contribution to this pickup camp. And then other than that, the guys that come in person, there's going to be a lot of teaching. I'll give all the guys, all 4 guys are going to give nighttime lectures once a week, each of us, for 3 weeks until the pickup camp. So if you're coming online, you're going to get 12 lectures from the coaches, plus the streams from the pickup camp, which is mostly going to be debriefing social interactions and social dynamics. Because we're going to be in field a lot. So if you can come in field, then we're going to have a lot of in field. They'll also get the 12 online lectures, but they'll also get a lot of in field. The discount, it's only $147 right now. And then, of course, the AZD camp is going to have like 25 plus advanced lectures or advanced meetings anyway. Maybe 4 or 5 of those are private moments. The guys are getting real advanced. And the guys that now do their first private moments have the advantage of having seen many private moments. So if you don't have enough money to make it and do your own private moment, just watching the private moments is going to make your inevitable first private moment much better. You get an advantage over me who did the first private moment. I was like, okay, I'll eat some sandwich and stretch a little while I listen to a book on tape. So the camp is very exciting. And I wish you all to come. It's going to be very freeing for your mind and imagination. You must be engaged with your life and active with your life so that you can channel the teachings through you into your life to create new effects. And this is where the value is. If you're just out in the middle of nowhere studying this stuff, not interacting with anybody, it's just mental masturbation. So just see opportunities. I implore you. I think the pickup camp will be very good for that. The pickup camp is going to awaken you. Let's not call it a pickup camp. Let's call it a dating and relationships camp. Let's call it a social dynamics camp. This is IMC social dynamics. Dynamic is an energetic term. It's energy. Thermodynamics, fluid dynamics, electrodynamics. Dynamic is a flow of energy or impulse, force. These things are related. Those are a family of words. Social dynamics. Okay, so come to the pickup camp. I'll see you guys there. Post.